current military dynamics and strategic implications in Ukraine's defensive operations. Ukrainian forces in Vuhledar. Strategic withdrawal decisions. Colonel Alexander Okremenko, the newly appointed commander of Ukraine's 72nd Separate Mechanized Brigade, emphasized strategic prudence as the rationale for delaying the withdrawal from Vuhledar in Donetsk. His strategy aimed to fortify Ukrainian resistance and prevent yielding additional territories to Russian forces. The phased evacuation from Vuhledar was a tactically approved maneuver aimed at minimizing risks and preserving frontline stability. Despite stabilizing efforts, logistical challenges and Russian control over tactical positions complicated full-scale evacuation, underscoring the difficulty of operational planning under heavy artillery harassment. Russian advancements in eastern Ukraine. Russian forces have seized additional strategic positions, expanding their control in Luhansk and Donetsk, as reported by deep state analysts. The capture of settlements like Zelan Pervinch and Stelmakivka symbolizes Moscow's ongoing strategic thrust in eastern Ukraine. Ongoing advancements in regions like Maximilianivka signal a broader operational focus towards dominating key communication and transport routes. Potential threats to Kurakhove. Military analyst Denis Popovic highlights potential risks of encirclement in Kurakhove, demonstrating how Vuhledar's fall could facilitate Russian strategic advances towards Kurakhove via Boholovlenka. The control of high ground and logistical choke points like Seladov are crucial for both sides, dictating upcoming tactical maneuvers. Challenges remain as weather conditions like rain and mud may temporarily slow but not halt Russian advances, necessitating adaptive defensive planning from Ukrainian forces. Lyman direction and tactical evaluations. In the Lyman sector, Russian tactical activity seems exploratory rather than decisive, as articulated by officials from Ukraine's 60th Separate Mechanized Brigade. Russian forces employ diverse mechanized and armored assault attempts, probing for Ukrainian weaknesses, but without full-fledged engagement, indicating potential shifts in assault strategies or preparation for intensified confrontations. Ongoing conflicts in Donetsk and Siversk. The Institute for the Study of War, ISW, provides insights into the fluid dynamics around Donetsk and Siversk, where Russian forces maintain pressure without significant territorial shifts. Reports claim street-level engagements in Donetsk, yet visual confirmation remains absent, reflecting the complex, often opaque nature of urban warfare. The persistent yet cautious Russian tactics reveal strategic intent to steadily erode Ukrainian defenses without overextending forces in complex urban settings. Overall, these evolving fronts demonstrate the intricate balance of localized operational strategies, broadly defined strategic objectives, and the ongoing challenges both sides face in maneuver warfare. As Ukrainian forces brace for continued pressure, the ability to capitalize on enemy missteps and maintain strategic flexibility remains paramount. Kursk operation offers third path to ending war, says Foreign Policy. The recent Ukrainian military operation in Russia's Kursk region may pave the way for strategic negotiations based on land exchanges, according to an article in Foreign Policy. The operation has reportedly strengthened Ukraine's negotiating position, potentially facilitating talks without requiring Ukrainian capitulation or ensuring total victory. The magazine highlights a growing consensus in the West that both Ukraine and Russia may eventually need to engage in negotiations and make concessions to end the conflict. Ukraine's ongoing presence on Russian territory undermines Moscow's claims to victory, Foreign Policy argues. By occupying Russian land, Kyiv has theoretically set a precedent that could help conclude the war favorably for Ukraine. The article suggests that this development has enhanced Ukraine's position in any forthcoming negotiations, painting the operation as a strategic move towards a potential resolution. Pro-Kremlin propagandist with Ukrainian citizenship detained in Moldova. In a joint operation involving Moldova's law enforcement, Ukraine's security service and border officials, pro-Kremlin ideologue Dmitry Chistylin, an associate of former Putin advisor Sergei Glaziev, has been detained. Chistielin, who holds both Ukrainian and Russian citizenship, was reportedly involved in planning Russia's information warfare strategy against Ukraine. According to Ukraine's security service, Chistielin, who has lived in Russia since before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, developed analytical materials for the Kremlin, supporting Russia's armed aggression and the integration of occupied Ukrainian territories into Russia. Additionally, he allegedly interfered in electoral processes in Eastern and Central Europe to benefit Moscow. Chistielin also participated in so-called roundtable discussions in Europe, attempting to disseminate Kremlin narratives and weaken Western support for Ukraine. He was detained while trying to return to Moscow via third countries, after attending one such event in Europe. The Prosecutor General's Office of Ukraine has accused Chistielin of treason and justifying armed aggression. If convicted, he faces life imprisonment with confiscation of property, highlighting his significant role in promoting Kremlin policies. Hezbollah launches rocket attack on Israel. IDF responds in Beirut. In a recent escalation, Hezbollah fired approximately 100 rockets towards Haifa and its surrounding areas in Israel. The attack resulted in a 71-year-old woman sustaining a shrapnel wound to her arm. In response, the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, launched strikes on Dia, a district in Beirut known as a concentration area for Hezbollah forces. In light of the escalating hostilities, Turkish authorities have announced the evacuation of Turkish citizens from Lebanon by sea, highlighting concerns over regional security and the safety of foreign nationals. North Korea allegedly boosts military support to Russia in Ukraine conflict. South Korean Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun has indicated that North Korea is likely dispatching troops to Ukraine in support of Russia, as reported by Yonhap News. This move marks an intensification of military collaboration between Pyongyang and Moscow, potentially tied to a June 2024 agreement between the two nations. Reports have surfaced about North Korean casualties near Russian-occupied Donetsk, which Kim suggests are probably true given the circumstances. According to Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council's Center for Countering Disinformation, North Korean military personnel, primarily engineers, are already in Ukraine, monitoring the use of Pyongyang's weapons by Russian forces. Some have reportedly been killed, with low-quality munitions being a noted issue. Previously, Ukrainian intelligence suggested that over 20 soldiers, including 6 North Korean officers, perished in an October 3rd missile strike near Donetsk. This aligns with earlier reports of North Korean troops' involvement in the conflict. Kremlin's conditions for ending war, detailed by Lavrov. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has outlined Moscow's conditions for ending the war, demanding the lifting of sanctions and recognition of Russian control over Ukraine's Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson regions. In an interview with Newsweek, Lavrov stated that Russia is willing to cease hostilities if Ukraine meets these terms. The Kremlin's conditions include the complete withdrawal of Ukrainian forces from the aforementioned regions, acknowledgement of these areas as Russian territory, and Ukraine adopting a non-aligned, non-nuclear status, alongside demilitarization and denazification. Lavrov expressed frustration that rather than accepting these terms, Ukraine invaded Russia's Kursk region on August 6th, which he claims was supported by the US and NATO with the aim to strategically defeat Russia. Lavrov asserted that under these circumstances, Russia has no choice but to continue its special operation until threats from Ukraine are fully neutralized. He also noted previous negotiation attempts, such as the Minsk agreements and peace talks in Istanbul in March 2022, were dismissed by Kyiv, contributing to continued tensions.